What's going on, guys? It's your girl Angie Snatch coming at you with another episode of An Unbiased Truth. And today we're going to be talking about Nicole Michelle Johnson. Don't let this picture fool you. She is a straight up monster, a predator. Nicole Michelle Johnson, out of Baltimore, 33 years old, is accused of, and not accused of, it is confirmed that her niece and nephew, 5 and 7 years old, were found in the trunk of her car. But there's more than what meets the eye in this case, and there's a lot of agencies that owe our community some type of response and accountability. Check this out.
Towson with more on what the suspect actually told police. Avajoy.
Well, Baltimore County Police say this all started from a traffic stop when the defendant was speeding. The officer apparently smelled an odor, and that's when they found the bodies of the 2 children in the trunk. 33-year-old Nicole Johnson faces several charges after her 7-year-old niece and 5-year-old nephew were found dead inside her car trunk. Baltimore County Police say an officer pulled Johnson over late Wednesday night in Essex. And when the officer told her the car had to be towed because the tags were fake, the officer detected the unmistakable odor of decomposition. At one point, the officer even noticed that the clear bag contained maggots inside. According to the department, after repeated requests from the officer, Johnson removed the blanket, exposing the decomposing body of a young child who was inside a suitcase. Police say they later found the body of another child in a bag. Johnson told police she was taking care of the kids because their mother wasn't able to. But the mom told police she tried to get her kids back, and in March of 2021, she arranged to have the children returned, but the defendant never showed up. According to the document, dead since May of last year when they were staying at this inn off Pulaski Highway. Police say the defendant admitted she hit the little girl and she fell and hit her head. The address for the aunt is listed in this Northeast Baltimore community. One neighbor held back tears.
Honestly, I pray for the young lady because you have to be in a dark place to put babies in a trunk and to drive around with them.
Now, according to the court documents, when the autopsy was done, 7-year-old Joshlyn Johnson weighed 18 pounds and her brother, 5-year-old Larry O'Neal, weighed 21.
First, I want to say I completely disagree with the neighbor interviewed at the end of that clip. I would not waste any of my prayers on this woman. So let me give you guys a quick timeline. So in 2019, Dayshell, who is the older sister of Nicole Johnson, moves from Dayton, Ohio to Baltimore, Maryland. July 19th, she gives her children, 2019, I'm sorry. She gives her children to her younger sister, Nicole. She states because she cannot care for them. So July 2019 is when Nicole first got custody of the children. Walk with me. July 2021, she is then pulled over. She's originally pulled over for speeding at 11 o'clock at night. Upon inspection, the police found out that she doesn't have a license, she doesn't have any insurance, and that her tags are not registered to that car. So what they do is they tell her to park the car. They're going to give her a summons to return to court in 5 days, since it is a traffic infraction at this point. She responds to them and say, I won't even be here in 5 days. I'm going to be famous. You'll see. I'll be on the news. She proceeds to the trunk of the car to take a suitcase and a plastic bag out of the car. The police say that there was an overwhelming odor of decomposition when she pulled those bags out, and they noticed maggots coming out of the plastic bag. Upon pressing her, she eventually opens up the bag. What they discover is 2 children, 7-year-old Joshlyn and 5-year-old Larry, who are her niece and nephew, the children of Dayshell Johnson, her older sister. She states that in May 2020, she beat Joshlyn because she was misbehaving. She fell, hit her head, and died. Instead of choosing to call the ambulance or the police, she decides to put the 7-year-old into a suitcase and then put her in her trunk. This is May 2020. So she rode around for over a year with that little girl's body in her trunk. As for the little boy, the 5-year-old, she says 2 months ago, she noticed a scar on his leg, but he went to sleep and he never woke up. So she decides again not to call the police, not to call the ambulance, not to call for help. She decides to put him in a plastic bag next to his sister in the trunk of her car. Now, in that police report, that's why I said it's more than meets the eye. In that police report, her sister, Dayshell, says, I tried to get my children back March 2021. That's this year. But that little girl has been dead since May of 2020. So that was immediately a red flag for me, because that says at a minimum, you haven't seen your children in over a year. So I can't immediately call you a victim, because where were you? Now, I believe that both of these women are addicts, both daughters. This is where I say that more than just the 2 daughters owe us answers, but Baltimore County Police and Baltimore Child Protective Services also owes answers, because it was very interesting. In that news clip, they stated a statement from Child Protective Services. So that kind of stood out to me. Well, why is Child Protective Services making a statement, especially like this? So this is Greg Rickett, Assistant Director of the Montgomery County Children's Services. He says, this is a horrific incident, and we are saddened to learn about this tragedy, as there is an active investigation taking place in Maryland, and due to Ohio Revised Code, we are unable to comment. That sounded like a cover our ass statement to me. So I wanted to know, well, what information do you have, and how are you involved in a way that because of Ohio code, you can't make a public comment? And I found this. This is from the patch, from the grandmother. The mother of Dayshell and Nicole Johnson, who lives in Dayton, Ohio. It reads as follows. The children's maternal grandmother, Michelle Johnson, told Fox 45 Baltimore that she was concerned for their safety. I called the police department to see if someone could help me. I called Child Protective Services, Michelle Johnson says. A spokesperson for the Baltimore City Department of Social Services, Child Protective Services, told Fox 45 that information related to phone calls like the one Johnson said she made is confidential, but confirmed that the department is looking into the case. The last time Michelle Johnson saw her grandchildren was December 2019, when her daughters moved from Ohio to Baltimore after the family got into a spat regarding the care of the 2 children, the grandmother told Fox 45. That is why Baltimore Child Protective Services, Montgomery County Child Protective Services is making that statement to cover their behinds. But even in this article, there is already a contradiction, because she saw them December 2019 and says that's when both her daughters moved from Ohio to Baltimore. In the police report, they stated that in July 2019 is when Dayshell gave Nicole her children. So I wanted you guys to also check out this clip. This is the grandmother's thoughts on both of her daughters in the situation regarding her grandchildren, but also the uncle speaks at the end, because Dayshell was staying with the uncle with her children.
Dayshell Nicole's mom, Michelle Johnson, says she wants both of her daughters held responsible.
I love her, but I want her paid with every soul in my bone. They can put her to sleep as far as I'm concerned. They can put them both to sleep.
Nicole has since been charged in connection to the children's death. Phillips says he hopes everyone responsible is punished and has this message to the kids.
Papa, I love you. Sorry I wasn't there to protect you.
Dayshell Nicole's mom, Michelle Johnson, says she wants both of her daughters held responsible.
I love her, but I want her paid with every soul in my bone. They can put her to sleep as far as I'm concerned. They can put them both to sleep.
Nicole has since been charged in connection to the children's death. Phillips says he hopes everyone responsible is punished and has this message to the kids.
Papa, I love you. Sorry I wasn't there to protect you.
Dayshell Nicole's mom, Michelle Johnson.
Now, I couldn't agree with that grandmother more. And this is her talking about her children that she gave birth to, but understanding the gravity of what they have done to these children. Now, Nicole Michelle Johnson, the grandmother is Michelle Johnson. Nicole Johnson goes to trial in Baltimore on December 16th. However, I want you guys to look at these charges. So she's charged with child abuse in the first degree, second degree, assault, neglect of a minor, failure to report a child death, and unlawful or unauthorized disposal of a body. Now, this is where I think that Baltimore is also trying to cover their ASSs. If you see for neglect of a minor, they backdated that to November 1st, 2019. So are you saying that you knew then that there was some type of neglect of those minors? Is that an admission to me that Baltimore had some idea, and I believe that Child Protective Services has to have a recording of that call, because these charges were made on July 28th and they're backdating it to 2019, 2 years ago, prior to this young girl being murdered, May 2020. Had Child Protective Services acted then, they had a family to go to. They had a family that loved them. But our children were not important enough for them to follow up. And that grandmother from Dayton, Ohio, called down to Baltimore repeatedly to get answers, and she had no answers. And now they put on the news just that aunt. Yes, she put the final nail in their coffin, but there was a lot of people involved that helped in digging those young kids' graves. Let me know what you think. Does Baltimore have to answer for this as well? Should they be arrested? Should they be put to sleep like her mother said? I mean, this is just so triggering for me as a parent to know that there are kids out there going through this. Imagine that 5-year-old knowing my 6-year-old, when my oldest is gone, he goes through all types of withdrawals. Imagine that 5-year-old knowing that I haven't seen my sister in over a year, and the callousness for her to be riding around with their bodies in the trunk. As far as I'm concerned, I concur with that mother. Whatever happens to them, that is what is supposed to happen to them. But I do think that there are other agencies that have to give us answers as well. All right, guys, you let me know what you think. I know I was a little upset, but it's just so triggering to me. I mean, I'm a mom. So, yeah, this is just disgusting.
Thank you for listening to my mom, Angie Snatch.